It was the kind of morning that should have been perfect. The sun was just rising, casting a golden light through the curtains of the bedroom. The smell of freshly brewed coffee wafted from the kitchen, and I could hear the soft hum of the city waking up outside the window. But there was a heaviness in the air that I couldn't shake. I had just come back from a long business trip, and all I wanted was to walk through the door, put my bags down, and embrace my wife, Sarah. The woman I had loved for years. The woman I had built a life with. But as I stepped inside, I saw something that stopped me dead in my tracks. There, on the kitchen counter, was a letter. It wasn't like the usual love notes Sarah would leave for me. No, this one was different. It was cold, impersonal. My heart started to race as I picked it up. As soon as I read the first line, I felt the air leave my lungs. "Mark," the letter began, "I need to be honest with you. I've been seeing someone else. I've fallen in love with him, and I think it's time we part ways." The words blurred in front of my eyes. I felt my stomach drop, my head spin. My hands shook as I held the letter. Couldn't believe it. Sarah, the woman I had given everything to, had been having an affair. Not just a fling. She had fallen in love with someone else. The betrayal hit me like a freight train. How long had this been going on? How could she do this to me? We had built everything together. A home, a life, dreams of a future. And now she was leaving me for another man. I was still trying to catch my breath when I heard the door open behind me. "Mark, we need to talk." Sarah's voice was soft but firm, laced with an uncertainty that made my blood boil. I turned around to face her, trying to keep my composure. My heart was racing, but I knew I couldn't let her see me fall apart. "You don't get to just walk in here and tell me that you've been seeing someone else, Sarah," I said, my voice tight. "You don't get to crush me like this and then act like everything is fine." She looked down, avoiding my gaze. "I didn't want to hurt you. I never meant for it to go this far, but I don't love you anymore." "I love him." "Who is he?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. "Who is the man you're throwing everything away for?" She hesitated for a moment, and then she spoke his name. "His name is Jake. He's someone I met a while ago. We've been seeing each other for months now." Jake. The name echoed in my head, a constant reminder of the man who had taken everything from me. The life I thought I knew was gone. The woman I loved had chosen him over me. I felt anger surge through me. But it wasn't just anger. It was something deeper, something darker. I had been betrayed in the worst way imaginable, and I wasn't just going to stand there and let it happen. No, I was going to fight back. Loi kagoi kanjia. Have you ever been betrayed by someone you loved? How did you react? I'd love to hear your thoughts and experiences in the comments below. If you want to see how Mark turns his heartbreak into justice, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell. Don't miss out on what's coming next in this story of survival, revenge, and triumph. The next few days were a blur of emotions. I couldn't escape the constant replay of Sarah's words in my head. "I love him, Mark." The sting of her betrayal was unbearable. But it wasn't just the affair that cut so deeply. It was the fact that she had made a choice that had turned my world upside down. As I walked through the house we had shared, I noticed the small things. The pictures of us on the walls, the decorations we had picked out together, the kitchen where we used to cook meals side by side. It all seemed like a lie now, a facade of happiness built on a foundation of deceit. I couldn't stay in that house. I had to get out, but I had to think. I wasn't just going to let this happen. She thought she could just walk away with him, leaving me broken and defeated. But I wasn't that man anymore. I had already been through hell, and now I was going to rise. I called my lawyer, Paul, and met him in his office the next day. He could see the storm brewing inside me. "Dylan," he said, his voice steady, "this is going to be a tough fight. You've got the betrayal, but now you've got the legal battles to face. We'll start by getting control of the house back. We can argue that she sold it without your consent, but it's going to take time." I didn't care how long it would take. I wanted everything back. My life, my peace, my home. And I wanted to make Sarah pay for the mess she had made. Paul explained the next steps, how we would file the necessary paperwork, how long the process would take, and how we could prove the emotional distress she had caused me. But the longer we talked, the more I realized that I had to take action on my own as well. The law was one thing, but I needed to show Sarah that I wasn't going to be her victim. I started by researching everything I could about her new boyfriend, Jake. The more I learned, the angrier I became. Jake wasn't just some guy who had come into our lives. He was a well-established businessman, someone with a reputation, someone who had his own agenda. I wasn't just going to let him waltz into my life and take everything I had worked for. I called in a private investigator to dig deeper into Jake's background. I wanted to know everything about him. What were his weaknesses? What was his connection to Sarah? And, most importantly, how could I use that to my advantage? The investigator, a sharp woman named Linda, got to work immediately. Within days, she uncovered information about Jake's financial dealings, his past relationships, and even his connections to some questionable business practices. It was the leverage I needed. But I wasn't done. I wasn't just going to fight for the house. I was going to fight for the respect I had lost, the dignity that had been stolen from me. I started working with my lawyer to figure out how to take control of the business assets Sarah had secretly transferred to her new boyfriend. The money she thought was safe, the deals she had signed with Jake. All of it would come to light. I wasn't just fighting for property or money. I was fighting for my identity, for my ability to stand tall again. For every time Sarah had told me I wasn't enough, for every night I had spent thinking I wasn't good enough, I was going to take it all back. Days turned into weeks, and as I continued to gather information, I found myself feeling stronger. With every piece of evidence I collected, I realized that I had power again. I wasn't powerless. I wasn't broken. I was in control. Then, the day came when I was able to confront Sarah again. This time, I didn't feel like the man she had left behind. I wasn't the broken, betrayed husband. I was someone who had fought for his life and won. It had been a month since I last confronted Sarah, but the war wasn't over. The legal battle was intensifying, and every day felt like I was walking on a tightrope, balancing between my need for justice and the weight of the emotional toll it was taking on me. But I was determined. I had already lost so much, and I wasn't going to let Sarah and Jake take away the last shred of my dignity. Paul and I had been working tirelessly, using every piece of information we'd gathered to build a case. We filed motions to contest the sale of the house, demanding that it be returned to me. And with Jake's shady financial history uncovered by Linda, we had the leverage to put pressure on him and Sarah. There was no way they could walk away unscathed from the mess they'd created. But as I was preparing for the next round of hearings, something unexpected happened. I was sitting at my desk, going over some documents, when my phone buzzed with a text message. It was from Sarah. My heart skipped a beat. "I need to see you. It's about the house and everything else." The message read. I wasn't sure how to feel. Part of me wanted to ignore her, to never look her in the eye again, but another part of me, the part that wanted to end this once and for all, knew I had to face her one last time. I agreed to meet her, and the next day we sat down in a small cafe near the courthouse. I could tell she was nervous. Her hands trembled slightly as she stirred her coffee, avoiding eye contact with me. The silence between us felt thick, heavy. "Mark," she began, her voice low, "I know what I've done. I know I've hurt you in ways I can never fix. But I need you to understand something. I never meant for any of this to happen." I leaned forward, my gaze steady. "Sarah, you don't get to explain this away. You made a choice. You lied to me, and now I'm fighting to take back everything you took from me. You can't just walk away from this without facing the consequences." She looked down, her lips trembling. "I didn't think it would go this far. I thought I was making the right choice for myself, but I was wrong. I know I've destroyed our life together, and I can't undo that. But I want to help you, Mark. I want to make this right." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. After everything she'd done, after all the lies and the betrayal, now she wanted to make things right? Felt like a joke. But I wasn't here to hear her apologies. I was here to make sure she understood that she couldn't just ruin my life and walk away scot-free. "I don't need your help, Sarah," I said, my voice firm. "What I need is for you to face what you've done. And that's exactly what's going to happen." At that moment, I knew. This wasn't just about the house or the money. This was about me reclaiming my life, my dignity, and my future. I wasn't going to let Sarah dictate the terms of my story. She had made her choice, and now it was time for me to take control. The next few weeks were a blur of legal paperwork, court dates, and endless preparation for the final showdown. The evidence we had on Jake's financial dealings, the lies Sarah had told, and the way they had conspired together to ruin me. It was all coming to light. The pressure was mounting, and I could see that Sarah and Jake were starting to crack under the weight of their actions. Then the day of the final hearing arrived. The courtroom was packed, the air thick with anticipation. I could feel the tension in my chest as I stood before the judge, ready to present my case one last time. This wasn't just about a house anymore. It wasn't even about the betrayal. This was about justice. I stood tall, my voice steady as I spoke to the judge. Your Honor, I've been through hell over the past few months. My life was torn apart, and my future was taken from me. But I've fought every step of the way to take it all back. I'm not asking for pity. I'm not asking for sympathy. I'm asking for what is rightfully mine. Sarah sat across the room, her eyes focused on the floor. She hadn't spoken a word since the hearing began, and I could see the weight of her guilt on her face. She knew what she had done, and now it was time for her to face the consequences. The judge listened carefully, and when he spoke, his words felt like a weight being lifted from my shoulders. I have reviewed the evidence thoroughly, the judge said, his voice firm. It is clear that the actions of the defendant were not only morally wrong but legally indefensible. The court rules in favor of Mr. Cooper. The sale of the property will be reversed, and restitution will be made to compensate for the damages caused. I felt a rush of relief flood through me. This was it. After everything, I had finally won. As I walked out of the courtroom, I couldn't help but feel a sense of triumph. It wasn't just about the victory in court. It was about everything I had fought for, my dignity, my peace, and my future. I had taken back what was mine, and more importantly, I had taken back control of my life. I looked at Olivia, who had been by my side throughout this entire journey. She gave me a small smile, and I knew in that moment that we were ready for whatever came next. The journey wasn't over, but I had finally taken back my life. The days after the court ruling were a blur. As the weight of the victory settled over me, I realized that the hardest part was behind me. I had fought through the heartache, the betrayal, and the legal battle, and now, for the first time in a long while, I felt a sense of peace. But that peace wasn't without effort. It was the peace of knowing I had reclaimed my life, piece by piece. But the question remained, what next? I had taken control of the house, the business, and the future I thought I had lost. But it wasn't just about regaining what was mine. It was about moving forward. It was about living again. I spent the next few weeks reorganizing my life. The house, once a symbol of betrayal, became my sanctuary. I worked with Olivia to redecorate, to make it feel like home again. It wasn't just about physical changes. It was about changing how I felt about it. The walls that had once echoed with the pain of Sarah's betrayal now became a place where I could build new memories, create new moments. One evening, as I sat with Olivia, enjoying a quiet dinner, I realized something I had been avoiding for far too long. Despite everything I had accomplished, despite the battles I had won, I had never really allowed myself to heal fully. Yes, I had taken back control, but I had also buried my emotions, convinced that focusing on the external was the key to moving forward. But the truth was, I still needed to heal emotionally. I needed to forgive not just Sarah, but myself. Olivia, I said, my voice soft, I don't think I've truly healed. I've been focused on all the things I lost, but I haven't dealt with the pain of the betrayal itself. I need to let go of the anger, the hurt. Olivia reached across the table and took my hand, her eyes filled with understanding. You've been through so much, Dylan. You've been fighting for so long. It's okay to take time for yourself. But I'm here, and I always will be. Her words were the comfort I needed. I had spent so much time focusing on revenge, on getting back what was mine, that I had forgotten to take care of the most important part of all, my heart. I had to forgive Sarah, not because she deserved it, but because I deserved peace. and I had to forgive myself for allowing someone else's choices to control my happiness. The following weeks were a period of deep reflection. I started journaling my thoughts, looking back on everything that had happened, and finding clarity in the chaos. I realized that, while the betrayal had been painful, it had also taught me valuable lessons about resilience, about strength, and about the importance of self-worth. I reached out to old friends I hadn't spoken to in years, rekindling relationships that I had neglected. I traveled more, taking time to explore new places, new experiences that weren't clouded by the past. I focused on my health, both physical and mental. For the first time in what felt like forever, I wasn't just surviving. I was living. And as for my relationship with Olivia, it grew stronger every day. She had been my rock through everything. While I had fought for my life back, she had never left my side. We began talking more about the future, about dreams we had never shared before, about things we wanted to do together. And for the first time, I could truly see a future with her, a future where we both had the freedom to be our best selves. Then came a day when I was ready to face the final step in my journey. I had been putting it off for too long, but I knew it was time. I needed to meet Sarah, not to fight her, not to seek revenge, but to finally put an end to the chapter we had closed so many months ago. I met her at a small park, the place where we had shared our first kiss, the place where we had promised each other forever. She looked different, her face tired, as though the weight of everything had finally caught up with her. But there was no anger in me anymore, only clarity. "Mark, I don't know what to say," Sarah started, her voice shaky. "I've been living with so much guilt. I never wanted to hurt you." I didn't interrupt her. I had heard enough apologies to last a lifetime, but this time, something had shifted inside me. I had already forgiven her. I had already let go. "I don't need to hear it anymore, Sarah," I said, my voice calm. "What happened is done. But I've moved on. I've rebuilt my life. I'm not angry anymore. I'm at peace." She looked at me, her eyes filled with something I couldn't quite place. Regret, sadness, maybe even relief. But it didn't matter. I wasn't doing this for her. I was doing it for me. "Goodbye, Sarah," I said softly. "I hope you find the peace you're looking for." As I walked away from her, a weight I hadn't realized was still there finally lifted. I had closed that chapter completely. No more anger, no more hurt, just peace. That night, as I sat with Olivia, I realized how far I had come. The man who had walked into that courtroom months ago, angry and broken, was no longer the same person. I had rebuilt my life, found my purpose, and reclaimed my peace. I wasn't just surviving anymore. I was living and thriving. With Olivia by my side, I knew the future was bright. The days after I finally let go of the past felt strangely liberating. I was no longer a man consumed by anger and heartbreak. The bitter taste of betrayal had faded, leaving behind a sense of resolve. I had rebuilt my life piece by piece, and with Olivia by my side, I felt like I could conquer anything. But there was still one last battle, one final moment of closure, before I could fully walk away from the life Sarah had tried to destroy. I spent the next few months continuing to grow my business, strengthening my relationships, and planning for the future. Felt good to be moving forward. But there were still moments when I couldn't help but look back. I thought about everything I had lost, everything that had been taken from me. But then I thought about everything I had gained. The strength I had discovered within myself, the support I had from Olivia, the success I was finding in my career. But there was still that lingering question. Was this the end? Could I truly walk away from the past and live without any regrets? Could I finally forgive myself for the mistakes I made, for the time I wasted on someone who never really cared about me? One afternoon, as I sat at my desk in my new office, I got a message from my lawyer. It was brief, but the moment I read it, my stomach dropped. "Mark, you might want to prepare yourself. There's been a new development." I immediately called Paul, my lawyer, my heart racing. "Dylan," he said on the phone, his voice serious, "I've just received word that Sarah is challenging the divorce settlement. She wants to take this to court again. She's claiming you were unfairly compensated for the assets and the property." I was stunned. How could she? After everything, after all the damage she had caused, now she wanted to drag me back into the nightmare? Paul, what's going on? Why would she do this now? I asked, my voice tight with frustration. Apparently, she's desperate. Jake's business is in trouble, and she's trying to secure financial stability. She thinks that by taking this back to court, she can force you into a settlement that benefits her. I sat back in my chair, feeling the familiar rush of anger surge through me. Sarah was back at it, trying to ruin my life once again. But I wasn't going to let her. The next few weeks were filled with legal battles, heated exchanges, and strategic maneuvering. I couldn't believe this was happening, that after everything I had been through, Sarah would still try to take what was mine. But I wasn't backing down this time. I had already faced worse, and I wasn't going to let her win. Paul and I worked tirelessly, gathering more evidence, refining our strategy. It became clear that Sarah had made a huge mistake. She had underestimated how much I had changed. She thought she could manipulate the system, but I had learned how to fight. Not just for the things that mattered, but for the justice I deserved. The day of the hearing arrived, and I felt the weight of it all pressing down on me once again. The courtroom was filled with tension, but this time, I wasn't just defending myself. I was fighting for what was right. I had worked too hard to let Sarah tear it all away. I stood before the judge, calm but resolute, as Paul presented our case. The evidence was overwhelming, and Sarah's claims quickly fell apart under scrutiny. Her attempt to manipulate the system was exposed for what it was, a desperate last-ditch effort to salvage her life. After what felt like an eternity, the judge finally spoke. Based on the evidence presented and the actions of the defendant, I am ruling in favor of Mr. Cooper. The settlement will remain intact, and the court will not entertain any further claims from the defendant. The words hit me like a wave. I had won. I had finally put this all to rest. There would be no more courtrooms, no more manipulation. I had reclaimed everything. Not just the property, not just the assets, but my dignity, my future. As I left the courthouse, I could feel a sense of relief washing over me. It wasn't just about the legal victory. It was about closing the door on the past once and for all. I wasn't going to allow Sarah or anyone else to dictate my future. The man I was now, stronger, wiser, and more determined than ever, was not someone who would be broken by the past. I met Olivia outside, and for the first time in months, I felt the weight of everything lift off my shoulders. She smiled at me, and I could see the pride in her eyes. "You did it, Dylan," she said, her voice full of warmth. "You took back everything." I pulled her into a hug, feeling a deep sense of gratitude and love for the woman who had been by my side through all of this. "I couldn't have done it without you," I said, my voice full of emotion. "Thank you for believing in me." And as we stood there, together, I realized that the greatest victory wasn't the money, the property, or the court ruling. The greatest victory was the life I had built, the love I had found, and the strength I had discovered within myself. This was my new beginning. What do you think about Dylan's journey? Have you ever experienced betrayal in a relationship and fought back? How did you handle it? I'd love to hear your thoughts and experiences in the comments below. Your story could help someone else who's going through the same thing. If Dylan's story inspired you, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell so you never miss another powerful story like this. Together, we can rise above the toughest challenges and come out stronger. And hey, if you know someone who's struggling with betrayal or fighting for justice in their own life, be sure to share this video with them. It might just give them the courage they need.